Hi. So the goal today is to walk people through how the college application process works at Grosse Pointe South. Hope that following this video you'll be able to real easily see how this works. So first of all, this is the overview. The student will fill out the college application, and if there's a fee associated, in many cases there are, the student would pay that fee directly to the college. Next, they are going to add the school to the colleges I'm applying to on Naviance. I'll walk you through that in a moment. Then they're going to send their transcripts through Naviance to the school, and they'll send their test scores via the testing agency, which would be either the ACT or the SAT. Again, more detail in a moment. Then they'll go to the Career Resource Center, which is located in the library, to notify the school that they've applied to that college and that we need to follow up with their transcript request. And we'll be that double check at that point to make sure that they've got all of their ducks in a row, so to speak. Then we'll send out the documents and wait to hear what happened with that application. So now I'm going to go into a bit more detail on each of these 6 steps. So the first step is filling out that college application and paying the fee. In most cases, let me flip over to our web. In most cases, the student will be applying directly to the college. So I'm going to use Western Michigan, hopefully it comes up on my screen here, as a good example of a place where a student would apply directly to a college. The other example for that is if the student were to apply to a Common App school. I'll take you through that in a minute. But let's just start with a real good basic explanation. So I went to wmich.edu, which is the Western website, and from here I would go to the Apply Now button. And it's always a good idea to read the instructions first to make sure that the student has everything that they need. So they'd go through and read the freshman instructions. Here they walk through exactly what the criteria are for admission, when they need to apply, and all of those details, right? And then they will start their application, and it's usually an entirely online process. They can begin and stop at any point. There'll be a way for them to save their work and go back in. With an application like Western, it's usually pretty clear-cut. They're going to be looking for student activities and some demographic information. And, you know, it shouldn't take, I would say, with an application like Western, you know, probably not more than a half an hour. So it's not a heavy-duty process when we're talking about the likes of these kind of schools. Okay, so as we remember, going back to our direction here, the student will fill out their college application and then they'll pay their fee online. If we have a student that is on free or reduced lunch and they can't afford to pay those college application fees, they should come see me or whoever their counselor is in the counseling center, and we can support them with that. So once they've submitted that, their next direction here is add school to the college I'm applying to on Naviance. So let me show you how you do that. We go back to the web and show you that from South's web page. So we'll start at the top so you can kind of see what that looks like. If the student scrolls down, you'll see this Naviance logo right here, and you can click on that logo and you'll get to the Family Connection page, and the student will log in just like as they're logging into the school computers. So this is what it looks like. If they go to the colleges, and then this is the login. Hold on a minute here. Let's see if they bounce me off of all of them. Lovely. Okay, so back in. So once they get into the Family Connection page, if they click on colleges, then they'll see this colleges I'm thinking about, and I've been running this a lot, so you see I'm thinking about way too many colleges. But if a student has, here we go, Western Michigan University on their colleges I'm thinking about, then they would just click on, select that by checking it in front and saying move to application list. And that is going to trigger this question of, do you want us to send your transcript? And of course you'll check that and say, yes, send my transcript. They're going to say, have you submitted your application? You're going to say, yes, you've submitted your application. we ask students to not complete this step until after they've submitted their application, because otherwise what happens is we start sending transcripts to schools, and then in many cases the student changes their mind and we've got an outstanding transcript out there, and that gets messy with our statistics. So please wait to do this step until after the student has submitted their application. Then they'll say add applications. And we'll get into some details of the Common App then, but that's enough to fulfill this step that we had here, which was add school to colleges I'm applying to. Okay. The next portion says send transcripts via Naviance and test scores via testing agency. Well, I just showed you how to send the transcripts via Naviance, but there's lots of different ways that you could do this. So I showed you by moving that from the colleges I'm thinking about to the colleges I'm applying to. But if the student hadn't been thinking about this application, they maybe just came to it and didn't have it in their colleges I'm thinking about list, they also could just go to colleges I'm applying to, and they could add this to the list using this tool right here. Look up their college by typing it in, and then click right here for transcript request. And that way that transcript request will go into the system, and that's really easy too. So usually with Naviance there's like 3 different ways to do everything, but that's another easy way to take a look at that. Okay, the next direction that you have on this list is send test scores via testing agency. Okay, so sending test scores for this year's juniors, they might decide whether they want to send their ACT scores or their SAT scores. Maybe they choose to send both those. It's entirely up to the student and their family what scores they want to send to the school. But to send your scores, then the student would just go to the testing agency website. So we'll pretend it's the SAT or the ACT. So I'm going to actstudent.org. And then once that comes up, they're going to ask for students your scores. And you can see understanding and then sending your scores. And you really just need to follow up on sending your score report. So let's see, I'm not sure how far they'll let me go on this since I'm not a student, but we'll try. Okay, so here's specific directions on sending your scores, the price for it. So they charge for each score that you send out. You can send by phone, but they're going to charge you a little bit more for that. And then there's more details there. So it's really just a matter of kind of following the directions. We can't send official scores. We can only send unofficial scores. And most colleges like to see official scores. So, that's where the student, because it's a privacy matter, the student needs to send them directly. Okay, SAT, we're going to go to the College Board website. So it's collegeboard.org. And again, it's a similar scenario here where the students will log in to their page, and then they'll say send my scores. Let's see how far I can get without being a student. Scores, there we go. And then over here you see sending scores, how to send scores. Super. So the student or the family, I should say, are responsible for sending the ACT or SAT scores since they're looking for official scores. If you ever want us to send unofficial scores to a school, we can do that, but most colleges want to see the official score. Okay, next step. We want the student to go to the Career Resource Center or the College Resource Center, same place, 2 different names. It's located in the library, and we say confirm the requirements for letter of recommendation from the teachers or the counselors. So let me tell you what that means. If we go to the CRC webpage, the way I will get there is go to South, and I'm going to go to Academics, College Resource Center, and I'm going to go to Naviance Information and College Application Process on the left. And again, all of these details are listed on this page so you can see. It tells you that you will need to turn in this status of application notification, and you can click to it right from the school webpage. So this is a form that we use to make sure that the student really has all of their ducks in a row, so to speak, so that they haven't forgotten anything in the process. So they'll put down their name and their student number and the date that they're doing this, and then the name of the school they've applied to. So in our case, we would say Western Michigan University. Did you request transcripts? Yep, we just did that. You saw that. How many teachers' letters of recommendation does this school require? Well, if we spent the time to read through all those things that were on that page, you'd see that Western does not require any, so we'd have a 0 there. However, if we were applying to a different school, we might have a certain number of transcripts or another number of letters it would require. And if that were the case, then we'd write down the name of those teachers that were writing that letter of recommendation. This is not a Common App school because I told you we're starting simple. And then the matching doesn't matter. So for Western, it would just be the name of the school and did you request transcripts. It's pretty straightforward. The student signs that and then turns that to the College Resource Center between 7:30 and 10:30. That's when Mrs. Naparano is there to receive those and make sure that it will all be followed up on. And you know, for a school that is not on the Common App, that doesn't require letters of recommendation, pretty straightforward. That's the end of the line and everything that needs to be done. Okay, let's get a little more confusing. Let's say a student is applying to a Common App school. So if a student's applying to a Common App school, what that means is that the student will be applying using a generic application instead of a specific, say, let's use U of M as an example. U of M is on the Common App, so instead of applying directly to U of M, they apply using this generic tool that's called the Common App, and then they say, okay, send that Common App to University of Michigan. So if you have a student that's applying to several schools that are on the Common App, then this is supposed to save them time because they can fill out one application and then they can shoot it out to a variety of different schools. Of course, each school is still going to have an application fee, in most cases affiliated with the review of that application. So it doesn't really save you money, but it can save you time, you know, depending on what's involved in that application. And in some cases, you know, there's a choice. In some cases, there's not a choice if you have a school that is exclusive to the Common App. So let me walk you through this scenario of how to apply using the Common App. The first thing a student would do would be to go into this commonapp.org and they would click on Apply Now, and they would create an account. And after they've created an account, they run through all those same demographic and school activity and you know, leadership and such questions that we would have seen when we went through the Western application. In addition, though, the Common App always will have at least one essay that a student has to do. In some cases, they may have additional essays that are specific to the school. So there's a generic Common Application essay, and then there may be essays that are specific to, for example, the University of Michigan that only U of M would see when you apply via Common App. So that's really just going to depend on the school, and once the student logs into the Common App, they can take a look at any schools and what their requirements are. Or they could go directly to that university's website to see what their essay specifics are as well. So let's say that the student completes that Common Application and then they come to the end and they submit it through Common App. Then what we would do, which would be different on Naviance, is we'll choose a school like Albion. Say we went to colleges I'm thinking about, and we had Albion as one of these schools. Albion is sort of interesting because you can choose whether they want to apply via Common App or whether they want to apply via a direct application. When you look on this list where you see delivery type, you can see there's a little CA inside that what's supposed to look like a computer monitor. That's telling you that that's a Common App school, so that's an indication for the student that they are going to need to apply to that school via Common App. When you have something like this, looks like a canceled stamp, that means that those applications are only via mail, so they're not online applications. I picked some crazy schools just to try to find those. You don't really see too many that are exclusively mail. So we've got the Western Pacific Truck School in Modesto, but either our Georgetown, I think, is still exclusively a mail application. So there are some holdouts that don't even do online applications, but I'm digressing here. So let's say we are going to go to colleges I'm applying to, and we'll pick that on Albion, okay? They're saying, did you apply via Common App? Well, we're gonna confirm there, and we'll say, yes, we're applying to Albion via Common App, right? And we'll update that application. That way, instead of a question mark on submission, it's going to have that actual Common App CA there. And this one still, you'll see it still as a question mark because Hillsdale could go either way. And then, the student will continue to do their application transcript the same way. So, they could request transcripts up this way. They could request it when they move it from colleges I'm thinking about to colleges I'm applying to. There's a variety of different ways they could request transcripts. But this time, instead of requesting the transcript to go directly to Albion, what would happen is it's going to go to the Common App, and then Common App will shoot it out to each of the different schools that the student applies to via Common App. So in order to do that, the student needs to match their application. So I'm going to bring this up. The way they will match their application is there's this big blue box, and they will put in the email address that they used when they applied via Common App, and then their birth date will actually autofill. And then they hit match, and that will match those two applications up. So what that does is when the student is applying for their via the Common App, and they ask through Naviance to send transcripts or send letters of recommendation, it will automatically filter through from Naviance to Common App and then out to the schools. So it's important to do that Common App matching. And typically that blue box is already open, and the student can just put in the email address they used when they created their Common App account and their birth date, which is usually already auto-filled in there. Okay. All right, the next step is that oftentimes schools that are on the Common App also have a recommendation request. That is, they want to hear from one, maybe two teachers that about what their opinion is on that student for college readiness. So the way that the student would do that would be first to go to the teacher that they are interested in asking, and really do that face-to-face request first. If they do it via Naviance first, then the email is going to beat beat them to the punch in terms of the request, and that can get a little awkward. So I really think it's important for the student to go a face-to-face request, and we do some role playing to help students understand how to do that. Typically the teacher will say, absolutely, I'd be happy to help you with that. And at that point, then the student would go on to Naviance, and they would request it via Naviance. So I'll show you how to do that. So again, from the home page, once they sign into Naviance, they're going to go to this colleges page, and then scroll down to the bottom, and colleges I'm applying to, then down to teacher recommendations, and they'll say add or cancel request, and then that's where they would select their teacher, write them a quick note, thanks so much, you're a peach, and then click on update request. And what that does is sends a note directly to that teacher that says, a sample student, Blue Devil, is requesting a letter of recommendation from you, and it's just really essentially a follow-up from what they have already discussed in terms of that face-to-face intervention. I always think it's a good idea for students to follow up just maybe a couple of weeks later and write the teacher a thank you note. It does not have to include, cookies or gift cards or anything major. Really, just like a heartfelt handwritten note is a great way to just show their appreciation to that teacher for taking the time to write their letter of recommendation. Always important things to remember. Students should not ask unless they absolutely know they're applying to a school that requires a letter of recommendation, and they should not ask for more than what they need. So if they need one letter of they shouldn't ask for more than one letter